The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Shepnaz Podcast. We hope you're having an amazing day. I'm Pastor Zack, your host, and still so blessed to have Pastor Bryanna here with us today, our youth pastor who we had the privilege of hearing from on Sunday, bringing us one of my favorite stories from Scripture, the story of Esther. And a quick reminder that if you didn't have a chance to hear this message yet, please go back and check it out at shepnaz.org/media. We have all of our sermons there that you can go back and watch and revisit. And so if you haven't checked it out, if you missed this past Sunday, I highly recommend you go check it out because it will give you a lot more context to this conversation, as well as yesterday's conversation, because yesterday we painted the picture of what was happening. Esther's upbringing, where, you know, her being an orphan and did not have the best upbringing, but then ends up through a series of good, bad, weird events of like, she essentially gets put in a beauty pageant and wins the opportunity to be the king's new wife, which, again, we talked, could be good, could be bad. It's a little weird. I don't know if she really wanted it.
We'll find out in heaven. We can ask her.
Exactly.
Really
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
Like, Esther, tell me what was going on in that moment.
Yeah.
But so where we left off is, long story short, again, go back and check out yesterday's conversation, but there's a guy by the name of Haman. He's the king's right-hand man. He's not a good dude. Has this run-in with Mordecai, where Mordecai, who is a Jew, it's Esther's cousin, Haman makes his power-hungry rule that like people have to bow down to him. And Mordecai's like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Which gets Mordecai into some trouble. Not just for Mordecai, but he's now like, not only do I not like you, Mordecai, the Jew, now I don't like any Jews, and I want them all to die.
Yep.
So now that leads us to this moment where Mordecai goes to Esther, who is also a Jew. King is unaware of this still. Goes to Esther and says, hey, you might be our only hope. The problem is, one, the king doesn't know that Esther's Jewish yet, which could be a big problem. Yeah. Two, you can't just go up to the king. Like, it doesn't matter what your position is, including his own wife. You can't just walk in.
Yeah.
And so she's faced with a decision. Not only does she have to bring some potentially devastating information to the king, but now she even just bringing her presence to him could mean her death. And she makes a very profound statement right before we see what happened is, if I perish, I perish.
Yep.
She just kind of admitted that it could happen.
Yep.
And if it happens, it happens.
Yep.
But that's where we left off. And we don't know what's about to happen. If you don't know the story, you don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So she's about to make the decision. What happens next?
Yeah. So kind of piggybacking off of where she's like, if I perish, I perish. She has Mordecai to gather all the Jewish people to fast and pray. So I think that's also an important thing to know.
Yes.
You know, part of the, well, we'll get into this, but part of the reason that everything worked out the way it did probably could be attributed to that fasting and prayer. So anyways, so we're here, Queen Esther, she's like, okay, I'm going to do it. So she works up the courage to go approach the king. And so she does, and like kind of setting the scene, and I have talked about it already on set. Yeah, totally already preached on this.
Yes.
Yeah. I will have talked about how like every step could have been her last, you know, like just that feeling of like, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where you have to like go have like an intense meeting and just like the feeling like you're like walking to it. You're like, oh gosh, I feel like sick to my stomach. I'm freaking out. But like she's literally could die. So it's just like hard to even wrap your mind around. But so she's going, approaches the king, and something unexpected happens. The king is like happy to see her. He's just like, oh, like, what are you doing here? You know, like, what is it? And so he has this gold scepter and he like holds it out and she like touches the end of the scepter. And he's like, what is it? Like, what is your request? And he says, even up to half the kingdom, it will be given to you. So like crazy, right?
Homeboy's in a good mood.
He's in a good mood. So this is where, as a reader, I remember reading this for the first time and being like, what? Esther, you know, you're like kind of worked up. You're like, okay, she's going to ask. And she's like, I want you and Haman to come to a banquet or a dinner. A banquet I'm going to throw you. And I was just like, wait, a banquet? What? Or a feast? Like, what is this? So he's like, okay, great. Like calls in, he's like, get Haman for me. Like, we're going to have this banquet. So that's kind of where we're at. So Esther was like, I'm going to throw you a banquet. So it's just the three of them. And we get to that point. They're having the banquet. They're drinking some wine, and then once again, you're like, okay, it's going to happen. The king's like, Esther, like, what is it? What did you want to ask me? And then she's like, will you come to another banquet tomorrow?
Just do it already.
Just do it.
Oh my gosh.
But this is where it's important. And I talk about this. So I think with the book of Esther, we focus so much on one, she's known for her beauty. And I think that's something a lot of people think about. And then her boldness. But something that I think people miss a lot is that she was very wise. She's not just putting this off. She's not just like, let's have a banquet. And now if I were in her shoes, I'd be like, let's have a banquet. Oh yeah, another one. Like, I'd be putting this off. But she's being strategic. This isn't just a do it to do it. She's plotting. She has this in motion.
Right.
So Haman leaves. He's feeling really good about himself. He's like, I just had dinner with the king and queen, feeling really great. He leaves and passes by Mordecai again. And he's like, bow down to me. Once again, Mordecai is like, nope, not going to do it. So he's so mad. He goes to his wife and his friends. He's being like a big baby. And he's like, this guy wouldn't bow down to me, blah, blah, blah. And so his friends and the wife, they're like, you know what you should do? You should set up a pole and have him impaled tomorrow. Just casually, yeah.
Cool.
So he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that.
It's wild.
So later that, I might be mixed up. Hang on.
You're good.
Okay. No, I'm still on track.
Yep,
you might need to edit that out. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So we're at this part later that night, same night. So Haman's like, I'm going to talk to the king. Set the scene, go to where the king is. King is trying to sleep, can't sleep. Okay. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to have the chronicles of my reign be read to me. And that's another thing I think I forgot to mention. So when Mordecai stopped those two guards from killing the king, it was written down in this like chronicles of events. So like they like keep record of like things people have done or like, whatever. So the king's like, I want to fall asleep. Read me like everything that, all the great things I've done and like, things that are happening. And so one of his people, servants, whoever is reading to him. And it so happens that they read the part about Mordecai, about him saving his life. And so he's like, what honor or recognition have we given to Mordecai? Like, I need to thank him. He saved my life. And they're like, nothing. Nothing's been done. So this is great. In this exact moment where he's like, we need to honor him, Haman walks in. Okay. And the king goes to Haman. He's like, hey, I want to honor like the highest man in the kingdom, worthy of praise and honor. Haman, being so prideful, is like, oh, this is for me. Idiot. Yeah. So he's like, the king's like, what should we do for this man I want to honor? So Haman, thinking it's for himself, he's like, you know what you should do? You should let him wear one of your robes and ride on one of your horses and be ridden around the kingdom and just singing his praises, talking about how great he is. And so the king's like, that's a great idea. He's like, do me a favor, go get Mordecai. And in that moment, Haman was literally coming to tell the king he wanted to impale him the next day. Crazy turn of events. Obviously running with his tail between his legs, like just like, oh gosh, like this did not turn out. And so, we are now in chapter 7. So this is where Esther had invited them to a banquet. Banquet's finally here. So this is really where it's all or nothing. Like this is like, we'll see what happens, So after they drink some wine, they're kind of a little loosey-goosey. The king is like, finally, like, Esther, like, what is your petition? Like you've asked, like what is it? Like I will give you even half the kingdom, like it will be given to you. And this is sort of like the moment that everything that she had gone through was preparing. Like every single thing had led up to this moment. Like the entire reason she's queen, like where she was in in her position, the whole point of it all. It's like for this moment. And so verse 3 in chapter 7, it says, "Then Queen Esther answered, 'If I found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king.'" And so the king is like, wait, what? Like, he has no idea, but like, he's upset for her. He's like, wait, who would do this? Like, this can't happen. Yeah. Like, who is ordering this to happen? And then Esther's like, Haman, like, you know, and Haman's right there. Okay. Right. So this is very good. It's juicy. The king is so mad. He leaves the room. He's like, I can't even look at this guy. Right. Haman, being the loser he is, he's like begging, pleading, like on his knees to Esther, like, please, like, don't do this, save my life. And he's like such a mess. She's like reclining on a couch, chilling. He falls on top of her. Not Haman. The king walks in. He's like, you're taking advantage of my wife. Like, he thinks like he's trying to come on to her. So not good. Not good. Yeah. And so finally, instead of Mordecai being impaled, you know, there's a sturdy old pole already there. Right. Xerxes is like, all right, let's just like have Haman impaled. And so it happens.
Why?
Just casual, like, all right, like, let's just execute him. Yeah. And so, yeah, he's executed. And as we kind of get to the end, so like Persian law, it couldn't like erase, like it couldn't be erased, like if it was already censored. So instead they issued a decree allowing the Jewish people to live there, be protected and all of that. And then they established a festival of Purim to remember God's deliverance. And so it's like beautiful, happy ending, like classic fairy tale, like it worked out in the end, you know, God worked it all out.
So crazy.
Yeah.
That's why I just love this story. I really do. Like, there's so many 180s, there's so many didn't see it comings, and so many lessons out of it too. Like, you know, one thing that I forget what pastor it was I was preaching it, but like one of his takeaways from this story was like, don't be so quick to set up the gallows for your enemies, because you could be setting up your own gallows.
Yeah.
And just the way that, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's morbid, but you know, the way that the Lord totally turned this around to work it all for good.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, that's something that I'm glad you pointed out, because we do often talk about Esther's beauty. Like that's what got her in her position. It was her beauty. It was, you know, her physical appearance. But the reality was that it was really her wisdom and her bravery that through this, you know, to have the guts to do what she did, even go. Yeah. And then to be wise enough in listening to the leading of the Lord to be like, hey, throw him a party first. Make him feel good.
Yeah.
You know, I know he's in a good mood today, but like, throw him the party.
Yeah.
And then wait one more night, throw him another. And it was that night where everything started to go down.
Yeah. And little did she know, like she couldn't have foreseen that. Like she already asked to invited them to another party, having no idea that Haman was plotting, you know, would eventually, which is,
Exactly. The perfect timing for Haman to literally run into Mordecai right after that.
Yeah.
Right. To have another thing. And he's like, you know what? I'm not waiting. Let's just kill this guy now.
Yep.
And then the Lord keeping the king awake.
Yeah. If he hadn't been awake, having trouble sleeping, he would have never heard that. And
I mean, you can't chalk it up to coincidence.
No.
You can't. No. There's too many pieces falling into place. Not being able to sleep. So how are you going to put me to sleep? Read me all the good things that have happened. Oh, one of those good things that happened was this guy did a good thing for me, Mordecai, and how did we honor him? No? Yeah. Okay, let's bring in Haman.
Right.
Haman, how would you honor this guy? Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's not for you. It's for Mordecai.
Yeah.
You know, all these pieces that come together. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful story.
It is.
And I love your takeaways here too, you know, that God uses ordinary people in extraordinary ways. Like, you know, that's what's Esther's story. You know, yes, she was beautiful, but like her upbringing and her background, and how so many times that we can maybe make that our excuse to not do something. Like for me, it was education, like, because I dropped out of school, and like, you know, and for many years, and like, there's still days I struggle with it where it's like, well, I technically on paper don't deserve this position, or I'm not educated enough. And, you know, but God doesn't hold your experience against you. If he's got a call on your life, he's going to make it work. So even if it's an orphan girl becoming queen, he's going to do that. Yeah.
And it's all through scripture too. Like I think that's his favorite people to use are the least likely or the, on paper, the people that would be written off,
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Another takeaway I loved, that the reminder that God is working even when we can't see him.
Yeah, kind of going back to that, it wasn't mentioned in the podcast, but like this is the only book in the Bible where God's name isn't mentioned, like at all. So it's like, it'd be easy on surface level, somebody to be like, oh, like he's not in it, but he's totally in it. And like, it's evident when you look at bird's eye view, it's like all the ways that he was at work, Yeah,
exactly. Like we were just saying, like there's no way that's all coincidence.
No.
Like that's got to be God's orchestration. It's got to be his timing.
Yeah.
And then finally, and I think this is the best takeaway for all of us today, you said that God invites us to say yes when he places opportunities in front of us. Man, we have all in some capacity been faced with that moment that Esther was in. It's like, we know what we have to do and it might be hard. Yeah. It might have a really bad outcome. Probably not as heavy of an outcome as we read in this story. But we've all been faced with stuff. And the reality is when God gives us the opportunity, he's just asking for us to say yes.
Yeah.
And that simple, quote unquote, simple yes could be what changes the trajectory of history forever.
Yep.
And so that's our challenge for everybody listening today, is when God says, do it, just do it. I know it's a lot easier said than done, right? Yeah. But the reality is that like God was throughout this whole story and that he provided a way, and that when he sets opportunities in front of us, maybe our simple yes can be what changed the trajectory of the world forever. And so what is your yes today? What is God asking you to do? What is he giving you opportunities to step into today? Ask God. We can't answer that for you. That is only between you and the Lord. And so we want you to take some time and ask God, what is the opportunity he has set before you to say yes? So Bryanna, thanks so much for coming in, dude. We appreciate you and we love you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.